Mental health with guys is often stigmatized. Like, it's not comfortable to talk about.
Bars. That was bars.
Okay, that was bars.
Mental health with guys is often stigmatized. That's what you said.
Yeah.
That was bars.
All right.
Test. Okay.
It's good?
Yeah, it's working. Okay, so I'm Dane.
I'm Mark.
He's my father, and this is KRAM, the YouTube channel KRAM.
Father-son interviews about important topics for men.
Yeah, or anyone. So today, we're talking about depression, and don't click off. I know you just heard me say that, and you're like, oh, and then you like wanted to click off. Don't. It's
We've got 5 awesome tactics, 5 hacks for dealing with mental health issues that you can implement today. And
why is this important? Like, why do we want to talk about it? Well, it's an uncomfortable topic, and guys don't like talking about it, but a lot of dudes, you've probably heard, or you haven't heard, but a lot of dudes are killing themselves within the past just decade, you know?
You said suicides are up 30-something% in the last 3 years.
34% in the past 3-4 years, yeah. But that's just in general, not with men. But yeah, no, men are committing you probably know they're committing suicide more often than women, which it's not like we're having a race with women, but it's just like it's crazy how often it's happening right now.
Mental health with guys is often stigmatized. Like, it's not comfortable to talk about.
Bars. That was bars.
Okay, that was bars.
Mental health with guys is often stigmatized. That's what you said.
Yeah.
That was bars.
All right. So how do we address this? How do we talk about this? What can help improve it? First of all, what causes it? What are the causes, Dane?
There's a lot of causes, right? It could be your financial state. It could be, your relationships in general. Like, you don't have a girlfriend, or you do have a girlfriend or a wife. Just things aren't going too well. First of all, one of the reasons could be because of your mental health, and you're not good at talking. And like, girls need people who are communicate, and they actually really enjoy when you talk to them about stuff like that. And what's another one?
You said financial, but also work stress. Those are connected.
Yeah, kind of connected, but yeah. And then I feel like also just unknowingness. How many guys right now who are in their 20s are freaking out because they just don't know. They don't know what they're going to do.
They don't know if they should go to college. They don't know if they should marry their girlfriend. They don't know how they're going to make more money. They don't know what they should focus on.
There's just a lot of things to think about at once, right? Like women are a whole category. It's like, that's a whole category I still have to think about. And then I'm going to have to protect her and have children and protect those children. And I know when I have kids at some point, but I also need to know what I'm doing for the rest of my life and have that just set in stone. It's just like money. They're just really uncomfortable. You know?
It's more expensive to buy a house now. Rent is more expensive.
The world is going to crap. They don't know if they want to bring kids into this world even. And
then let's be honest. There's a lot of bashing on men, just in general as a society.
It's gotten a lot harder.
Toxic
to be
masculinity
a man in the past decade. Not because, well, you can just.
We don't want to get too political, but there is a lot of pressure on young men, especially in this environment, and there's a lot more distraction. Right? There's a lot more escape.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier to get access to drugs. It's a lot easier to get access to alcohol. It's a lot easier to numb yourself with social media, distract yourself with a phone, do whatever to just, when you're feeling these pressures, turn away from them.
Mm-hmm. So we need to band together. Basically, we're making this because you men watching, we need to band together and we need to put an end to this suicide crap. We need to stop killing ourselves, and we need to be the strong Sigma men that we're meant to be, that God wants us to be, okay?
So what are some actual tips, some strategies that can start helping? So let's talk about this analogy with the balloon, Dane, and the compartmentalization. Like, what do guys do?
Go ahead.
You want me to go ahead? So what I've experienced in my life is I'll experience some kind of stimulus or some stress in life, and I won't be aware enough when it's happening to me. And there's this saying that unexpressed emotions, it's not I don't even know if it's a saying. Unexpressed emotions never die. Like, they exist in you. They have to come out in some way. And so think of your mental state as a balloon, for instance, and you're getting certain inputs, and you're a man, and you're thinking like, hey, I can deal with this. I can deal with that disrespect. I can deal with this stress in my relationship here. I can deal with the fact that I don't know what the heck I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I don't have enough money. Like, things are happening, right? And it's like a balloon is inflating, right? Eventually that balloon inflates enough, and even a small trigger or a small additional thing added to that can just blow it all up. And then you go do something like cope with substances, or you might lose your temper and scream at somebody. It's not healthy. So how do we avoid that? How can we notice better when that balloon's inflating and also release some air along the way so that we don't get in the vicious cycle?
Well, and the reason you keep your balloon inflating is because of kind of like societal expectations, so it's like they expect us to be strong, right? And we are strong. We want to be strong. Like, that's completely fine. But we decide in our brains that being strong is also not showing emotions, because showing emotions is a sign of weakness. But actually it's not, okay? Because when you keep all those emotions inside, your balloon keeps inflating, and we think that's making us more strong, but actually the wall of our balloon is getting more thin and weaker the closer it's getting to popping. So getting help and talking to someone about those, releasing air, is actually strengthening our balloon. So there's different kinds of mental health, obviously, things you could be struggling with, and it's not just depression. That's the most common. When anybody thinks of mental health, usually the first thing they think about is depression, but it could be anxiety, like you could just be too anxious, or just too stressed about whatever. So if you're like thinking like I could have something mentally, a little bit, some slight mental illness, but I don't really know, I can fix it on my own, it's not a big deal. You can't, and if you're wondering that, you probably do, at least a little bit. So first step is you need to admit that to yourself, that yeah, I do have things holding me back mentally right now, and I need to fix them. So you need to prioritize that. You don't just dismiss your mental health. That's your brain. That's the most important part. The 100%. Physical part is like nothing compared to your brain. This is 100%. Running the whole thing. So take care of that.
There's something else I want to add to that. Is a lot of people were raised maybe in families that had a belief system. If this applies to you, just acknowledge it, where you think, man, if you go see a shrink or you go see a therapist, there's something wrong with you. You're some kind of a freak. There's something, especially if you're a man, you don't need that. Just live a good life, do good things, suck it up, and move on.
And honestly, a lot of people watching this probably have parents who don't believe in mental illness, or people around them not believing in it. And I think that is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard, okay? I've heard so many of my friends' parents just being like, what are you talking? You're fine, dude. Just like not getting it, right? One of those people is my mom. She doesn't believe depression or anxiety is a thing. It doesn't exist at all. So you just need to look at those people and be like, wow, I'm so happy I'm not you. That's sad, because that person is definitely dealing with something. But
well, let's also acknowledge that, like people like your mom, like there's people that have really solid mental health foundation. I
don't think she does. I think she's probably depressed.
We got to cut this part out.
Mom's not watching it.
Well, we don't want to disparage Mom.
Anyway, my mom doesn't believe it exists, any mental illnesses.
There are people that don't acknowledge mental struggles and mental illnesses. The thing that I can say for sure from my life is I have never achieved anywhere close to my potential in any area of my life without help. And before I learned that, I was progressing at such a slow rate. both financially, physically, mentally, super slow rate. Once I reached out and asked for help from a business coach, my progress accelerated. Once I reached out and I got a running coach, my progress accelerated. Once I reached out and got counseling and therapy for some emotional things I'm dealing with, my progress accelerated. So I have no doubt in my mind that there are professionals that can help anybody. I can't imagine someone achieving their fullest life without help from others in all the areas of their life.
Yeah. And most of the things you're gonna think you can just do it all on your own, which you probably can. You can do a lot on your own, but it's never gonna. First of all, it's never gonna go away completely, and it's gonna take this amount of time compared to this amount of time. If it takes this amount of time, you can use this amount of time to worry about the things that you need to be worrying about, such as, your financial state, your job, women. Like, you can actually begin to worry about those things once you fix yourself mentally. You don't need to do it all at once. You need to fix the most important thing first, which is your brain. But first, let's talk about like the difference between men and women in mental health. One thing women are really good at is expressing their emotions and their feelings. For the most part, they're really good at, taking care of themselves mentally, and talking about their emotions and feelings with other people, which, you think could be annoying or wouldn't help, but it is really important, and it does help, because what men do is they compartmentalize those things in different parts of their brain. They just leave it there, and it doesn't go away, and eventually it piles up, in like the balloon analogy where you pop,
Yeah, when an unhealthy amount of emotion builds up, it's so tempting to use coping mechanisms, substance abuse, technology, isolation. These are things that just turn ourselves within ourselves, and they don't actually help us progress, and they don't solve the problem. They just medicate for a time, and there was not making any significant help. So we got 6 things that we'd like to suggest that you try. And when you try, just try 1 or 2 of these, and then comment in this video. Tell us how it worked for you, and let's start a discussion about it. Let's help each other out.
So number 1 is asking for help. We've already been talking about that, but it is very crucial that you ask for help. And it kind of ties in to the second one, which is having a safe person. So it doesn't mean you need to sit and offload all of your problems onto a person, just like all your problems, And a lot of people usually probably think of their significant other, and a lot of times that can help somewhat. You need to communicate with them like how you're feeling, but you don't need to offload everything onto them, because that can also cause some problems. So it could be a family member, for instance. Family members are usually the best option. I'm sure a lot of you have good families. Some of you probably don't. So in that case, you find like a really close friend, or seek out a therapist. It is not stupid or dumb to like seek out a therapist. Like, that doesn't make you little or small or weak. Like, you need a coach for every aspect of your life. So
my safe person is my dad, actually. So usually 3 or 4 times a week when I'm running, I'm an avid runner, as you might know from watching some of our other videos. I'll be running, and I'll just get on the phone with my dad, 30 to 60 minutes, AirPod Pros in my ears, and just that act of running and moving my body and talking and him listening just really helps me work some stuff out and helps deflate that balloon, gain a new perspective.
And that ties into the next one. Running.
Intervention number 3, running. So we can't think of a single activity that can have more benefit on mental health than physical exercise, specifically running. Running is super accessible. Put on a pair of shoes, you go out. If you can't run, go speed walk. Speed walk until you can run. But the endorphins, the physical benefits, the mental benefits. I take my phone when I'm running, and I'm either listening to a podcast, I'm listening to something uplifting, or talking to my dad, and then an idea will come, and I'll just open my notes app on my phone and I'll write it down. And then I'll run for a few more minutes, and then I'll open my notes app, write something else down. And it's just like a flow.
Which is the fourth one, microjournaling.
Microjournaling is really powerful. And you can do it different ways. You can do it either with technology, you can do digital microjournaling, or you can do paper and pen. I love paper and pen microjournaling anytime I get a chance to do that, because it's actually scratching with ink on a piece of paper, creating something physical from something that lives in your head. And there's something about that process of getting something out of your head and into the physical world that brings context to it. It exists. It validates what you're thinking. And as you're doing it, your thoughts can change and shift, and you're opening yourself up to like enlightenment. And if you had some terrible stuff to journal about, you can crumple it up, you can burn it, you can throw it away, you can do stuff like that. But you can also measure some of your greatest wins when you're microjournaling. If you discipline yourself to write down the great things that are going on in your life, and you keep a record of that, that can be really powerful as well.
Yeah. The fifth one is doing something hard every single day, right? Like, it's going to be hard to remember, but set a reminder on your phone and just say, do something hard, and just have it set for every single day, or have it be like a quote on your lock screen or some crap like that, where it's just reminding you. Do something that makes you very uncomfortable and that is very hard for you to do every single day. Just start with just doing one thing, at least one thing that makes you uncomfortable every single day. So for some of you, it could be something like when you would usually pull your phone out in some kind of, like someplace in public, like you're at the grocery store and you're waiting in line or some crap like that, and you pull out your phone and you just decide to go through you're not actually doing anything on your phone. You're just kind of looking at your screen to pass time, because you're just kind of like, I'm not. Put your phone in your pocket.
Get out of the matrix.
Exactly.
Wake up.
Yeah. Get your A out of the matrix.
Be in the moment.
Yeah. And turn to the person next to you and be like, hey, what's going on? And then just talk to that person, because it'll feel extremely uncomfortable at first, and you'll be like, oh, I do not want to do that. The person's going to think I'm weird, and I just don't want to talk to them. The person seems like a weirdo anyway. Just do it. Trust, you will meet the most entertaining people ever. Like, the amount of characters you will meet by doing that, somebody's just like, dude, yeah. And then they could share something that could change your life. You never know.
The act of doing something really uncomfortable, that's a good thing. Not something that's uncomfortable that's a negative or that's harmful to somebody, but something that's really uncomfortable that's a really good thing. There's an element of that shows yourself that you're worthy of your own respect.
Yeah.
So, Dane, you were telling me a little bit earlier, when you go use maybe a substance or you're playing a video game, right, to self-medicate. Right. Talk about that, like the whole dopamine thing.
So this is like your dopamine levels right here. It's a flat line right now. You're at your baseline right now. And then when you play a video game and you get a win or something like that, or just some little, you get some little, anything to give you a little dopamine spike, right? Like, we're constantly seeking little things out that are going to spike our dopamine because it feels good. And it'll give us a little spike, and it's an immediate spike, and then it goes down a little bit lower than what your baseline was at before, and that's your current baseline. You just keep doing that to try and get like that spike to get up to where you were before, over and over and over again. But wouldn't you much rather have your graph look like this, where it's you at baseline, and then boop, a little step up, and then boop, a little step up? You get those little steps up, and eventually you're up here just naturally compared to where you were down here. And if you had been seeking out things that would give you little dopamine spikes, your baseline would be all the way down here, and you'd just be wrecking your mental health. So, like running, it's one little boop up. It's not an immediate dopamine spike. You do not want to go out and run. It sounds like the worst idea in the world, you know? And it doesn't have to be running. You can go to the gym. We talked about all of that in our last video. But also, It could be something super random, like handling a situation with your girlfriend in a good way, like actually communicating with her and like
Being open, vulnerable, honest.
right. And because that does not make you weak, that makes you strong. That's something that the women have on us right now. They're stronger in us in that category.
We can learn from that. So it's trading the little dopamine spikes that end up in a crash, these addictive behaviors, these unproductive patterns that we use just to get through life because we're already feeling some stress and we're saying, no, I'm going to show up. I'm going to unplug from the matrix. I'm going to actually be here in this moment, and I'm going to be daring and bold, and I'm going to face a fear and push through that fear, do something extremely uncomfortable for me. And what that does is, at least in our experience, we're not doctors and scientists or experts about this in any way, but instead of getting a little spike and then going lower than you were, it's a building block that actually produces evidence to yourself that, hey, this is awesome. Like it's a sustainable increase in your self-respect and your emotional state.
Right. Yeah, but like you said, we're not experts on this or anything like that. We haven't mastered the mental health or anything like that, but we know that these are good tips and we need to follow our own tips more often too. But we've just heard, like, listen to other really smart people who are a lot smarter than us talk about them, and we're just sharing them to more people basically so that it can help them maybe.
So doing something good is number 5, achieving some kind of a breakthrough, do something that's scary, push to the end of your comfort zone, go beyond it. That kind of transformative experience has a massive positive impact on your emotional health, on your mental health. And then number 6 is kind of connected with journaling, is measure the gain, not the gap. There's an awesome book that if you want to listen to it or read it, it's The Gap and the Gain. And unfortunately, most of us are in this pattern of we look at where our lives are now and where we think we should be. And there's all this kind of judgment and unhealthy pressure around that. And then we're focusing on that gap and we think, well, this will motivate me. If I really beat myself down and measure how far away from my goals I am. But actually, something that's a lot more motivating is if you have evidence of where you've been and where you've come from and the improvements and the gains that you've made, that can help with your mental health. And so that ties back into microjournaling. If you're actually keeping a record of some of your benefits, of some of your gains in life, that can be really powerful.
Mm-hmm. Basically, you need to take care of yourself. Don't focus on only taking care of other people. You can start doing that once you have mastered the art of taking care of yourself. And it just sounds like not a manly thing to do. Like, men don't need to worry about, taking care of yourself. We're men, but you do need to, okay? Because pretty soon you get, you get down low enough and you start not doing things that everybody does. Like, you can't even get yourself to take a shower or brush your teeth or like get enough sleep or, do anything or eat food,
When you lose cabin pressure in an airplane, the mask drop, what do they say to do? Put your mask on first. You're not going to be any good to anybody else if you're passed out because you don't have the oxygen. So Stephen Covey talks about moving from a state of emotional dependence to a state of independence and then interdependence. Emotional health, well-being is one of these important ingredients of becoming an independent person. And so, but don't do it on your own. Don't do it completely independently. Actually ask for help and use some of these mechanisms, some of these suggestions that we gave in today's video.
That is the first step and most important step, is just asking for help. It is so hard for guys to ask help because you think you can do everything on your own, but you can't. You can do a lot on your own, but you can't cure your mental health completely by yourself. You need other people. So just as soon as you can admit that to yourself, that'll be your first little progression.
There's a reality behind this that Alex Hormozy talks about this. He says, and then I'll use this in a financial way. He says, how much money is it costing you to not make $1 million a year right now? And it's like kind of an opposite way of looking at it. But his point is, like, there's certain limiting beliefs and thoughts in my head that are preventing me from making $1 million a year. Okay, how does that mean with him? There's certain ways that I'm thinking in my own head that are preventing me from having optimal mental health. from feeling more happy in a sustained way. And the fact that I'm in my own head, I can't even see those clearly. So there's a massive benefit for somebody else that can see us from the outside, can talk to us and help us shift our mindset and get those transformative breakthroughs that can help us see everything different and more clearly.
So I just looked this up because I was curious, but according to ChatGPT, in 2020, an average of 124 men committed suicide each day in the United States. 124 every single day. That is insane. That means that men accounted for more than 3/4 of all suicide deaths in the U.S. in 2020. So
It's an important issue.
let's fix it. Let's fix it together. Let's all fix it.
Anybody watching this, if you know somebody else in your life that's struggling with mental health issues, encourage them to get help. Encourage them to reach out and ask. I feel like this is a really heavy topic, so we should break this up with some humor or something.
I've been thinking about that this entire time, but I can't think of anything
I
funny
know.
to say.
It's a serious topic.
You could play the clip of Chris D'Elia saying, it's been harder to be a white man recently because of on every social media app you see a lot of men saying, no, that's not how I meant it. Remember?
Yeah. So maybe what we should do in the middle of this video is just cut for 2 or 3 seconds and show a little furry kitten or something.
Yeah. Oh, like the guy did at the...
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So, okay, quick anecdote. I want to share this. I have been feeling down the last few days. I don't know what it is. I went to a conference with Dane last week, and it was the smartest people in my business from across the country. Maybe that negatively impacted me. Maybe I haven't been getting enough sleep. I don't know what it is, but I've been feeling lower, like a 6 out of a 10 recently. Just today, before recording this session, I actually had a session with my business coach, and I was honest with him. I opened up about it. He's like, hey, let's dig into this. And then he was able to give me a perspective in helping me think about things in a slightly different way that already lifted my spirits almost immediately. So there's a real life example of how if you have relationships with people that their job is to help you or that they're willing to help you, and you tap into them and you're honest and you're vulnerable, you don't compartmentalize things, you open up about them, things can shift and you can get unstuck faster.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck. Get some help. Drop some comments below about how you've gotten help in the past. And if you have some resources, even 1-800 phone numbers that people can talk anonymously if they're feeling low, put those in the comments below. Let's share them and help each other.
Yeah. You can have a discussion in the comments. And if we only listed 6 or whatever tips of how you can deal with it or whatever. But if another one popped up in your head while you're watching this, just leave it in the comments really fast, because then somebody else can read it and be like, oh, okay. And then maybe that could affect them more than anything we said. So, because we're not experts on it. So we're asking you to help too. But my call to action is to do just today, after watching this video, just go, if you're still watching, thank you. But go outside and do something just that pushes you out of your comfort zone. Just do that today. Just think about today. Don't think about, I'm going to have to do this every single day. Just think about doing it today, and then wake up in the morning and then just focus on that one thing that you're going to do that day. Don't think about tomorrow and having to do it over and over again.
And my call to action is go get a pen and a piece of paper and use this micro journaling prompt. Answer the question, what just happened? Write for 5 or 10 minutes. Do whatever you want with it. Just getting the thoughts out of your head on paper, hugely powerful.
Honestly, another thing that helps is you're driving somewhere in the car and you notice yourself feeling pretty down and just wanting to drive into the opposite lane of traffic. Because I felt like that before. I'm pretty sure everybody has. You're just like, man, I could so easily just, just boom, right into that semi-truck. Start talking to yourself out loud, in your car, and be like, hey, Dane, how's it going? Or just whatever your name, or however you want to format it. Talk in the third person, second person, first person, doesn't matter. Just if you talk to yourself in the car, first of all, 9 times out of 10, you're going to make yourself start laughing for no reason. And you're going to seem like an insane person at a red light. You're going to look over and someone's going to be like, just looking at you. But, and then that will improve your day more too. Or just like be at a red light and then roll down your window and then tell the other person roll down your window and say, hey man, I'm having a really hard day today. And then roll up your window, just like to tell someone. There, you just told someone. You're never ever going to see them ever again. Should be like, hey man, I'm really stressed out today. I had to tell someone. Love you. And then, yeah, that could be entertaining. I haven't done that before. I'm going to try that.
Do something crazy. Write about it in the comments, and let's lift each other up.
Go drive out into the forest and walk around.
Okay, we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Love you. Bye.